Good morning and welcome to Breakfast with John Kay and Sally Nugent.
Good morning. Our headlines today.
His fictional party was a business meeting. And it was not socially distanced.
More pressure on the Prime Minister to explain a Downing Street Christmas party last year after video emerges showing senior staff laughing and joking about it.
Number 10 maintains there was no party at a time when tight coronavirus restrictions were in place, but grieving families say the video has left them shocked and angry.
We put our trust in the government of this country and, we expect higher standards, quite frankly.
That video has drawn criticism from Boris Johnson's opponents, even some of his own supporters, as Downing Street continues to insist there was no Christmas party and no COVID rules were broken.
Exactly 1 year after 90-year-old Maggie Keenan received the world's first approved coronavirus vaccine, the booster programme opens to over 40s in England.
Good morning. Can retailers deliver this Christmas with supply chains under pressure? Will your online orders arrive on time? I'll have all the dates you need to know.
Good morning. A dreadful start for England down under. Rory Burns gone with the very first ball of the Ashes, and it hasn't got much better at the Gabba.
Good morning. Today we still have Storm Barra across our shores, but it's continuing to weaken. It will still be windy though, just not as windy as yesterday, except for across parts of West Wales and southwest England where we're looking at gales. I'll have all the details throughout the programme.
Good morning. Wednesday, the 8th of December, and our top story is that pressure is mounting on the Prime Minister this morning after footage was leaked showing senior government staff joking about holding a Christmas party at Downing Street last year, at a time when London and other parts of the UK were under tough COVID restrictions.
London had moved into Tier 3 restrictions 2 days before the party is said to have been held, which meant indoor social gatherings were banned. Only 6 people could meet in outdoor public spaces. And the government guidance specifically stated no work Christmas lunches or parties.
Well, number 10 says there was no Christmas party and that rules were followed at all times. Scotland Yard says officers are reviewing the video that was obtained by ITV for alleged breaches of coronavirus rules. Here's the latest from our political correspondent, Helen Catt.
The Christmas tree is up outside number 10. The lights are on. But it's what happened last festive season that's still raising questions. Claims that a party was held inside, which an attendee told the BBC involved food, drink and several dozen people. It happened, they said, on Friday, December the 18th. 4 days later, the then press secretary to the Prime Minister had a practice press briefing with aides pretending to be journalists.
On Twitter, that there was a Downing Street Christmas party on Friday night. Do you recognise those reports?
I went home.
ITV News got hold of this video of it, with the aides joking about a party.
Is cheese and wine all right?
Is cheese and wine all right, she asks. Socialising was off limits under the guidance. On that day, there were severe restrictions in place on social mixing. On the day of the alleged party, 514 deaths of people with COVID were recorded. One of those who died that day was Jackie's mother, Beryl.
I think it's totally reprehensible, actually. When I first saw it, I had no words, to be honest, and it took a little while to actually sink in as to what I was watching. And I think this is actually indicative of a bigger problem within the government, that they think that they are above the rules and they can do exactly what they like.
The political backlash has started too.
Last year at Christmas, the public followed the rules and many of them didn't see their loved ones over Christmas. Some of them didn't see their loved ones again. They had the right to expect the government to follow the rules. And we now know the government broke the rules, they partied, and now they're laughing about it. They're treating the public with contempt.
Prime Minister!
The Prime Minister has been repeatedly asked about the party over the last week.
All guidance was followed completely during number 10.
We followed the guidance throughout and continue to follow the guidance.
What I can tell you is that all the guidelines were observed.
But expect him to be asked a lot more. Some of his own MPs want answers.
We need to get ahead of this story today. The government, needs to show that it takes it seriously. It's understandable that the government wants to focus on this coming Christmas, not the last one, given the worrying development of this Omicron variant.
And for those who might have claimed this was just an obsession of the Westminster bubble, Anton Deck had an answer.
And this fictional party definitely didn't involve cheese and wine or a secret Santa.
Evening, Prime Minister!
The Department for Education has admitted it held a gathering earlier in December last year. A spokeswoman said it was to thank staff for their efforts during the pandemic, and that while it was work-related, looking back, they accept it would have been better not to have gathered in this way at that particular time. As for Downing Street, it insists there was no Christmas party at number 10, and COVID rules had been followed at all times. Boris Johnson can expect to be asked for a lot more answers at Prime Minister's questions later. Helen Katz, BBC News, Westminster.
Well, let's go live to Downing Street now and speak to our chief political correspondent, Adam Fleming, who joins us on breakfast. Hi, Adam. So, Prime Minister's questions this lunchtime is going to be a big deal, isn't it? How damaging is all this potentially for the Prime Minister?
Morning, John. Well, what journalists were looking for was photographic or video evidence that this Christmas party had taken place in December last year to back up sources who were telling various outlets, including ours, that it had definitely happened. Those pictures haven't emerged, but the next closest thing is this video of this mock news conference where Boris Johnson's colleagues appear to be at least joking about a Christmas party. So the party is still the subject of speculation, but the laughter is real, and that's drawn real condemnation from Boris Johnson's opponents. Very strong words from the Labour Party. The SNP's Westminster leader, Ian Blackford, is calling for the Prime Minister to resign. And Boris Johnson's own colleagues in the Conservative Party, some of them are very, very angry, and they're using words like astonishing, indefensible and catastrophic.
Meanwhile, Adam, the Mirror, which broke this story about the Downing Street party last week, has another front page today claiming there was another party elsewhere in Whitehall last year at Department for Education. What do we know?
Well, these aren't just claims. These have actually now been confirmed by the department itself that on the 10th of December last year, when London was in Tier 2, where you weren't meant to be having social gatherings, some people who'd been coming into the office for work anyway stayed on and had a bit of a social gathering where it sounds like they had some refreshments and a bit of socialising. The Department for Education now says that when they look back on that event, they realise that they should not have done it. But there's an example of a claim being made, the department fessing up very quickly and apologising. One just wonders if all of this is now coming together in a way that stops the government getting its message out and stops it actually governing. And I think that would be what would move the dial internally in terms of what the government says about these rumoured parties in Downing Street.
Adam, for now, thanks very much indeed. Adam Fleming.
Now, the COVID booster programme in England is being expanded again, so anyone aged 40 and over can now book their third jab for 3 months after their second dose.
NHS officials said the rollout was continuing at speed in the run-up to Christmas. It comes exactly a year after Margaret Keenan, remember that, became the first person in the world to be given a COVID jab outside of a clinical trial. Here's our health correspondent, Dominic Hughes.
It was the news the entire world was waiting for, and it duly made headlines around the globe. The world's first ever dose of a COVID vaccination jab outside of a clinical trial given to Maggie Keenan at University Hospital in Coventry. Speaking a little earlier this year, Maggie, accompanied by matron May Parsons, who delivered the jab, told BBC Breakfast she knew it was a big moment.
I said 1,000 times over, I hope that it has got the ball rolling. This wonderful injection's been offered to them.
The past year has seen a monumental vaccine rollout effort by the NHS to get as many jabs into as many arms as possible. The result has been a total of more than 51 million first jabs given across the UK, the delivery of 46.5 million second doses and nearly 21 million booster or third vaccinations. And today that booster drive is being extended further, with people aged 40 and over now able to book their booster jab 3 months after receiving their second dose instead of the original 6 months. That's meant that while infections have been consistently high since late July, hospital admissions and deaths have remained relatively low. Now, as the government seeks to ramp up the booster programme in the face of the threat posed by the Omicron variant, tens of thousands of vaccination workers and volunteers are being urged to come forward, in the same way that Maggie did a year ago.
I had a letter from somebody which I thought was really lovely. The word she just written at the bottom of the letter was, "What a courageous lady."
Oh.
And that was just it. And I thought, well, you know, she thought that I've done something really good. I didn't just do it for me. Why would I do it for me? I did it for everybody around.
Despite the overall success of the vaccination rollout programme, there is a significant number of people who are still unvaccinated. Today, senior NHS doctors are saying it's still not too late to get a jab, arguing the more people who take up the vaccine now, the greater the easing of pressure on the NHS. And it's a message that Maggie Keenan also believes in.
Whatever you said or thought before, please do have the jab. There's nothing to it. Don't be afraid of a needle, just to save your life and to save other lives. Please have it done.
At any one time, hospitals are still caring for around 6,000 COVID patients. The unvaccinated make up the majority of people who fall so ill they need intensive care. 1 year on, the virus still poses a threat. Dominic Hughes, BBC News.
And we will be catching up with Maggie Keenan and May Parsons, the matron who gave her that first historic jab exactly a year ago, and that's going to be on at 8:30 this morning.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.